In an age of self-driving cars, instant global communication, and missions to Mars, we've built a world our ancestors could only dream of. We've mapped the human genome, split the atom, and connected billions of people across a digital web. It seems like we've solved nearly every puzzle except for the oldest one. Why, in this era of unprecedented progress, do we still go to war? Why does the shadow of conflict loom so large over our shining modern world? This is the great paradox of the 21st century. When we think of war, we often picture vast armies clashing on a battlefield, nations pitted against nations. But the face of conflict has changed dramatically. Today's wars are rarely so clear-cut. The new belligerents aren't always countries with flags and formal armies. They are often non-state actors, shadowy militias, splintered terrorist cells, and powerful criminal organizations. These groups operate in the gray zones, blurring the lines between soldier and civilian, war and crime. Much of the world's violence today isn't international, but internal. It erupts from the inside out. We're seeing a rise in civil wars fueled by the breakdown of states. When governments collapse, when the rule of law vanishes, a power vacuum is created. Into this void rush competing factions, each vying for control. Ethnic tensions, political grievances, and religious divides that were once held in check can explode into open warfare. The enemy isn't a foreign invader. It's a neighbor, a former colleague, a fellow citizen. This is the tragic reality of conflict in places like Syria, Yemen, and parts of sub-Saharan Africa, where the state itself has become the battlefield. But what fuels these fires? What drives groups to take up arms in the first place? One of the most powerful and enduring drivers is the competition for resources. As the global population grows and climate change alters our planet, the fight for essentials like clean water, fertile land, and vital minerals is becoming more intense. A drought can devastate a farming community, pushing people into desperation and conflict over the last remaining water source. The discovery of oil or rare earth metals can turn a peaceful region into a war zone, attracting armed groups eager to profit from the bounty. The environment itself is becoming a casualty and a cause of war. Alongside this physical struggle, a different kind of war is being waged, economic warfare. In our interconnected global economy, money is power, and economic dominance is a new kind of conquest. Nations now battle through trade disputes, tariffs, and sanctions, using financial pressure as a weapon to cripple their rivals. Beyond official state actions, there's a vast and murky underworld of illicit finance. Criminal networks and militant groups fund their operations through smuggling, trafficking, and extortion, turning profit into the lifeblood of their war efforts. In this arena, the battle lines are drawn on stock market tickers and in clandestine bank accounts. And yet, for all that's new, the old wounds still fester. The classic causes of war haven't disappeared. Territorial disputes, contested borders, and historical grievances continue to ignite violence just as they have for centuries. A line drawn on a map 100 years ago can still be the reason for bloodshed today. These ancient quarrels, passed down through generations, are a potent reminder that while our world has changed, some of the fundamental triggers for conflict remain deeply embedded in our history and our psyche. Modernity was supposed to be the answer, the force that would finally lead us beyond our primitive instincts for violence. But it has proven to be a double-edged sword. The very technology that connects and empowers us has also given us terrifying new ways to destroy each other. Drones now allow for strikes from thousands of miles away, turning warfare into something detached and almost virtual for the operator, but brutally real for the target. Cyber attacks can cripple a nation's infrastructure, its power grids, its financial systems, its communication networks, without a single shot being fired. And perhaps most insidiously, social media has become a weapon of mass disinformation. Propaganda, fake news, and hate speech can be spread with viral speed, polarizing societies, inciting hatred, and laying the psychological groundwork for violence. Our digital town square has become a new front line. Even our most cherished ideals, like democracy, are being tested. We believed that the spread of democracy would lead to a more peaceful world. But what we're seeing instead is a rise in aggressive nationalism and deep political polarization. In many countries, democratic processes are being manipulated. Information is weaponized to sow division, and leaders can rise to power by stoking fear and resentment against the other, whether it's an internal minority or a foreign rival. The very openness of democratic societies can be exploited by those who wish to undermine them from within, proving that democracy is not an automatic cure for conflict, but something that must be constantly defended. So we return to our central question: why does war persist? Perhaps the answer is that while the tools, the battlefields, and the faces of the fighters have all changed, the fundamental drivers have not. The landscape of war has been reshaped by technology, economics, and environmental pressures. But beneath it all, the same human impulses are at play. Greed, the thirst for power, ideological fervor, the pull of identity, and the sting of old rivalries. These are the constants. We have built a futuristic world on an ancient human foundation, and as long as that foundation remains, the question may not be if war will happen, but where and how it will happen next. The 21st century hasn't solved the problem of war. It has simply given it a new, more complex, and perhaps more dangerous form. Thank you for watching. If this video made you think, please consider subscribing and joining the conversation in the comments below.